What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Thanks so much for being here. Hey, Shelly. Hey, Saltwater Soul. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Tiffany. Hey, Terry. Hey, Roseanne. What's up, Janet? Hey, Karen. Hey, Kim. Hey, Charlotte. Thanks so much for staying up for the people in jolly old England and other places where it is late right now. Thank you. Hey, Calder. What's up, Holly? Kim, love the Avatar. Hey, Laura. Hey, Carol. What's up, Bows? So happy that you're all here. Hey, Kim Smith. Hey, Karen. Hey, Christine. What's going on? Hey, Gretchen. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Dr. Artie. Thanks so much for being here. Hey, Madeline. So, I'm hoping people got the link. I try to put it out, different ways. For those who don't know, um, who may have just hey Elizabeth, hey Liz, who may have originally initially followed me on YouTube, the Murdaugh Trial is kind of where it all started for me. As far as tweeting live trials, Shannon has been a court enthusiast, a true crime enthusiast. Hey, Alyssa, for a long time, and I never was. And one day she said, "Hey, you want to watch this documentary about this family in South Carolina?" I think it was 2020 or what. And I was like, "All right." Which bow is Calder? Calder is A Price, I think, on here. Yeah, A Price. So we watched the documentary on the Murdaughs. Then we watched Low Country on HBO, and I got into it. And then the trial came. And when the trial came, I was working at my job that I have been working for 18 years, for those who don't know. I handled litigation claims, bodily injury litigation claims. And basically, what that meant was someone got into a car accident or a homeowner's claim. I'm the a-hole that was uh, adjusting their claim. I'm the one who got their medical records, how to write up what their injuries were, how to put a value on what their injury was, um, and then try to settle the claim. And I was just thinking today that, hey, Disney Word, hey, Lisa, if you guys love the emojis, I'm sure you do. That's all Shannon. She's been working on it all day. Stephanie Truesdale, everybody. Um, thanks for joining. So what was I saying? So anyway, I was thinking today, Sunday used to be the worst day, because Sunday I got the dreads, as I like to call them. Hey, MJ, I got the dreads, and the dreads for me was thinking about going back to work on Monday. And whenever I would see the 60 Minutes thing would come on, I'm like, oh shit, it's official. I go back to work um, on Monday. And basically, what the job entailed, and that was the job, right? You get the medical records, you have to evaluate the records, you have to try to settle the cases. Um, oh man, Terry, that sounds rough. So, but at every job or the two jobs that I handled, the one with the dumb gecko and the one with the Statue of Liberty, um, there's too much work. I mean, it's like any job, I guess, any corporate job, but there's too much work. There's not enough time. It's expected, without being said, that you're going to work way past your hours. All our like we had settlement calls with attorneys, so I had to deal with guys like Mark Tinsley, and guys like Alec Murdaugh. There are people at my company that I'm sure who handled South Carolina that handle claims with old, good old Alec. Anyway, so you'd have to negotiate these claims. They would record the calls. You'd have to listen in your group to your call with the attorney, and they tell you how to do a better job. And the whole idea was you had to try to settle the claims for, you know, less money. The less money you settle for, the better. But they can't say like you have to evaluate it fairly, because if you're just evaluating claims not based on the injury, it's bad faith. So they would be like, all right, we'll evaluate this, and then they would give you, and then try to settle it for the lowest. But if you have to go to the higher amount, settle it. But so they listen to your calls. It was like Office Space, where everything was micromanaged like a million times. It was a nightmare. So anyway, Sunday was the worst. And then me and Shannon were talking about it today. Like, we were both set. We were both preparing for this. I mean, we've been preparing for this for a while, and we were just having a great time. And I just couldn't do any of this without all of you guys. So I just want to thank you all so much for all for your support. So anyway, back to, so I basically quiet quit when I was working a job, but I wasn't doing it, and I was working from home. And I started tweeting the Murdaugh Trial. And I just kind of started, I don't even think I started on opening. I think I started a couple days later. And I started tweeting just like my thoughts, and I would clip, hey Brad, I would clip short clips and post them to my Twitter. And like they started getting traction, because I was just basically, I mean, you guys know, I was calling Alex a dumb bitch, a dopey bitch. I just got really angry at him, and I got really angry at the coverage of the case. Everyone's like, there's no motive here. Like all the talking heads are like, there's no motive here. You know, it upset me. The coverage upset me. Harpootlian upset me because he's an a-hole. Jim Griffin, just wasn't a fan. So anyway, started tweeting it. Like I've said before, somehow I ended... Oh, no, not somehow. Mandy Norrell saw my tweets, and then she kind of told Mandy Matney. And Mandy Matney retweeted me a couple times and gave me some promo. And that my account started growing. Goofy bitch. People like the goofy bitch. Thanks, Artie. And that's kind of how it went. The tweets went, and then I eventually quit. And the plan was that when I was going to quit was I was going to start reselling stuff, which is something I did on the side. And maybe doing this part-time, but like I got a lot of support from everyone, and I'm really just me and Shannon are trying to do this together. We're trying to go full straight ahead, 100% with this. Try to provide as much valuable content that you guys like. No, F the Yankees, Lisa. So, everyone here has contributed, and I'm very grateful for everyone, and I really appreciate it. I'm just going to try to wait a little bit before I start. So here's the plan. All right, here's the plan. I'm going to play opening statements. I'm going to go into Dr. Kinsey's testimony, into Tiger Mark. Dr. Kinsey. Did I say Dr. Kinsey's testimony? Hey, Jen. He's spectacular. I've heard he's spectacular. I've heard that. Hey, Amy. Oh, Kim, that was so nice. You gifted a membership? That was so nice. Thanks, Kim. So what was I saying? All right, so I'm going to play opening statements, parts of them. Going to play Dr. Kinsey's testimony, part of it. Going to play Tiger Mark Tinsley's testimony. And after that, I'm going to bring a special guest, and we're going to go over good old Alec's testimony. So I think it'll be a good time. I hope everyone has a good time. I am hoping everyone got the link. I shared it in Patreon, and I shared it on the community tab. And I tweeted it. So I'm just hoping that everyone watching through page. All right, hold on. I'm just going to respond. Elizabeth, there should be chat. Elizabeth is saying. Sorry, just responding. Hey, Beth. Thanks, Michelle. I'd never in a million years thought I would be here, Michelle. I'll tell you that. For the people on Patreon, I put the link in there, but you should be able to come in here and should be able to. There's no super chat and sticker. Maybe it's because it's unlisted. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure this out. I hope everyone's in here from Patreon. It's the same link, so they should hopefully be able to. Is anyone in the chat come from Patreon as opposed to coming from YouTube? Because everyone should have the same link. I hope everyone can be in here and everyone can chat and everything. You got it? Okay. There's no super chat or sticker. I wonder if that's because this is an unlisted thing. Let me get I can get the link tree. Oh, you got here from Patreon. Okay, good. Okay, all right. So everyone should be able to do that. I'm going to put my link tree in here, but I mean, here's my link tree. I don't know why there's not super chat. I am assuming it's because it's an unlisted thing, but that's my link tree. But you know, don't feel obligated. I just appreciate everyone. This is what I'm. You know, when I did Patreon, and by the way, when I started, people were like, "Do a Patreon," and that's why I set this up. This is one of the anyone super chat and stickers are things you can pay like for during the while this is going on to like support the channel, I guess. Yes, we really, really, really appreciate everyone being here. Thanks so much, Michelle. So someone's gonna get a gift. So basically, you can. So some people can do this. I'm not. Oh, look at that, RT. You got. Hey, Sarah. Hope your son had a happy birthday. RT, you got a Dr. RT. You got a gift from Michelle. Thanks so much.
Gifts are available, but nothing else.
Just gifts. Okay. How many people we got here? I feel like we have more than. Oh, Christine. Thank you so much, Christine. You're too kind. Oh, that's awesome, Christine. Thank you. All right, and what we do for the people who haven't been in here before, we get our Capri Suns, orange Capri Suns. When someone joins, get your emojis. Let's get the emojis ready. Oh, Jen, you're too kind. Thank you so much. Oh, look at that, Lisa. You got a membership from Jen. You are too kind, guys. Hey, Billy. So I'm not sure. We're at 43. I feel like there was more than that, so I don't want to start like testimony if there's people out there who don't have the link. I hope everyone has the link. Well, I know one thing we can do. We can do a giveaway. If you guys haven't seen before, we're doing a giveaway and we're giving away some of these clear. These are clear Brang the Jury stickers that can go on like a laptop or a water bottle or anything like that. So we're gonna do a giveaway right now. Babe, why don't you come on down, babe? Because we have a special person, Shannon, who is gonna. And check this thing out, guys. We have all of the names associated to numbers on a list that Shannon set up. And one thing, like I said, we were resellers. So This right here, we got at a thrift. Shannon got at a thrift. It is a vintage brass bingo ball thingamajig. So we have numbers that are associated with all of your names. See right there, we got all the names on there. So Shannon is gonna maybe do 3. Want to do 3 now?
Sure.
She's gonna do 3. She's gonna pick 3 numbers, and then we are going to. And one of the balls.
That's number 1.
All right. What do you mean number 1? That's put
yes.
that back.
B2. That is. Sorry, I didn't write them in order. So that's kind of. The suspense is building.
Here's the sound for Shannon right now.
Phil Foss. Tayo Toys.
Tayo Toys. I don't know if he's here, but we will let him know that he won a Brang the Jury. All right, are you ready to do the next one, babe?
Yes. It is number 79.
79.
Karen. Carin.
See Karen. Hey, Miko.
All right.
Karen, are you in here? Karen.
Yes, she's here. I saw her in the chat.
Karen, you won a Brang the Jury sticker. So for those who are here, DM me on Twitter. Give me your address, and I will mail you a Brang the Jury sticker. All right, we ready for the third one,
yes.
babe?
Yes. Oh, still hasn't. Who was really building suspense that time? Okay. 26. 26. Who are you, 26? Amy Beebe.
Amy Beebe, if you are here, Amy Beebe, that's the third. We have more we will give out later. Amy Beebe, the third winner. So that's our first giveaway of the night, and we will do more. Thanks, babe. Thanks. Thank you. Well, you won this time, Karen, and we're going to do more as the night goes on. Guys, I want to show you something cool I made. I got this thing. It's called the Stream Deck. I am using, the money that we're using the money we're getting from you guys that we really appreciate, and we're putting it back into the channel to try to make this the best experience for everyone. Like I said, so I got this thing. It's called the Stream Deck, and I've learned it today. It basically sets up these commands. Oh, Janet, did I miss the thing from Janet? Thank you so much, Janet. Look at you, Tinsley Tooth. You got a thing here. Beth, thank you so much. All right, so I got this thing called the Stream Deck, and it sets up commands. So let me see if this works. You guys ready for this? Check this thing out that hopefully you guys all hear this. You ready? Here we go.
You will bring the jury.
So I could do that in upcoming streams. Anytime the jury comes.
You will bring the jury.
Did that work? Did everyone hear it? Let me know if you heard the sound with the picture there.
You will bring the jury.
Nice. I haven't set up all the things yet, but I'll be dropping some more during the and then I got this. Check this out. Ready? Wait, here we go. All right, awesome. I'm glad it's working. You will bring the jury. And then I got this button. This one doesn't make a noise yet, but all right. I guess I'm gonna start. I hope everyone that I invited was able to. Everyone got the link and they were able to get in. But I'm gonna go to the opening statements. So let's go to.
Now, I was making a replacement was
Of his guilt.
Oh, better. Is that better? Can you hear me? I think I'm back. I'm back. Did you guys hear me? The part say how many of you guys remember when you first watched this trial? Sorry, I'm back. Sorry. I messed up there. I think you can all hear me now, correct? Am I back? I think I'm back, but I just want to make sure. You can hear me now? Okay. So, you're back. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry. So, how many of you guys remember the first day of trial and just watching this trial? And I was just saying that I think it's going to be much better. Oh, shit. Thanks, Jody. Oh, shit. Let me turn this off. My text. Let's turn this off. Sorry, guys. This stupid thing. Get this off. All right. Sorry about that. What was I saying? So watching this again, at least now we know that this piece of shit went to jail, because I had a lot of anxiety watching this trial, thinking this motherfucker's gonna get away with it, and I'm so glad that this dopey bitch went to jail for the fucking awful thing he did, because I was really nervous watching this, thinking, shit, he's gonna get away with it. So I think it's a lot better now that we know that this piece of shit went to jail. All right, so here we go.
Charges. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
Here he is.
What I will say
Our
now
king.
is intended to serve as an introduction to this trial. These remarks are not a charge on the law. I will instruct you on the law in greater detail at the end of the trial before you retire to consider your verdict. But this is an explanation of the procedure that we will follow in this trial, so that you may better understand what's happening. The defendant is charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, the elements of which will be explained to you later. He has pled not guilty to these charges. He's presumed to be not guilty of these charges. He cannot be found guilty.
First of all, look how few people are in the gallery the first day. And Secondly, look at this dopey bitch who is already starting his fucking bob and sob. He's already starting the bob and sob, this piece of shit. And thirdly, I mean, is there anything better than listening to Judge Newman? He's just the greatest.
Unless the state presents evidence which convinces you, the jury, of his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The charge is simply the documents by which the case comes into court. Your purpose as jurors will be to decide the facts of this case. And out of all the people who were summoned to come here for jury duty, out of all the people who live here in Colleton County, out of all the people who live here in the state of South Carolina or any place else, only the 12 of you who will deliberate can decide the facts of this case. And you'll determine the facts of this case from the testimony which will come from this witness stand, together with any exhibits which is made a part of the record or any stipulations entered into by counsel. It is especially important that you perform your duty diligently and conscientiously and in conformity with the oath that you took, because ordinarily there is no way to correct an erroneous determination of facts by a jury. Now, just as only you can determine the facts of this case, as the presiding judge, I am the judge of the law. You must accept as correct the law as I stated to you, then deliberate and decide. I cannot tell you what the facts are. You cannot disagree with me as to what the law is, and even if you disagree, you must follow the law as I stated to you. You take the facts as you find them to be, the laws I give it to you, you deliberate and you decide the case. Until I tell you that it's time to do so, you cannot discuss the case with anyone, including your fellow jurors. You cannot discuss the case with family, friends, or anyone else. The attorneys in the case, you cannot discuss it with them or any parties or anyone else that might be connected with the case. Should you discover that a fellow juror is violating that oath and that order, you are to bring that to my attention. It's also vital that you do not seek information outside of the courtroom during the case.
Yep,
that means that you're not to search internet websites, watch television reports, news reports, any other form of social media accounts of the case, because you are sworn to decide this case based on the facts as you determine them to be, based on evidence presented in the case, as well as the law as I give it to you. Now, later in the process, I will appoint one of you to serve as the foreperson of the jury. We'll now proceed to opening statements.
Here we go.
By the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. On the evening of June 7th, 2021, at the defendant's property off.
Guys, look at how fucking mad that dopey fucking bitch looks. Look at that's his mad face. You stupid bitch. You stupid asshole. You fucking bitch.
Moselle Road in Colleton County. His son, Paul Murdaugh, is standing in a small feed room and some kennels they had on the property. About 8:50 p.m., and the defendant over there, Alec Murdaugh, took a 12-shade shotgun and shot him in the shoulder, in the chest and the shoulder, with buckshot. And the evidence is going to show it was 1,000,000 to 1 shot. He could have survived that, but after that, another shot went up under his head and did catastrophic damage to his brain and his head. The evidence is going to show that Paul collapsed right outside that feed room. And just moments later, just moments later, he picked up a .300 Blackout, which is a type of ammunition, but an AR-style rifle. And the evidence is going to show that the family had multiple weapons throughout the property. Picked up that .300 Blackout rifle and opened fire on his wife, Maggie, just feet away near some sheds that used to be a hangar. Pow, pow. 2 shots, abdomen in the leg, and took her down. And after that, there were additional shots, including 2.
Guys, how many times did you hear that pow pow in like every clip that was previewing this?
2 shots to the head that again did catastrophic damage and killed her instantly. The evidence is going to show that neither Paul nor Maggie had any defensive wounds. Neither one of them had any defensive wounds, as if they didn't see a threat coming from their attacker. And the evidence is also going to show that both Maggie and Paul were shot at extremely close range. The evidence is going to show it's called stippling. It's almost like a tattoo, that when you get shot very close to a weapon, it leaves marks that the forensic pathologist can see. They were shot at close range and they did not have defensive wounds. And the evidence is going to show that the defendant, Alec Murdaugh over there, told anyone who would listen that he was never at those kennels. But the evidence is also going to show from these things that every one of us, most of us carry around in our pocket, that he was there. And he was there just minutes before, with Maggie and Paul, just minutes before their cell phones go silent forever and ever. Despite what he told people,
What are you
never
writing,
at those
asshole?
kennels, the cell phones are going to show otherwise.
Put your fucking pen down.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Creighton Waters. I'm with the Attorney General's office and I'll be the lead prosecutor. I introduced myself before. With me is David Fernandez, Savannah Gow, John Metters, Don Zelinka, John Conrad, and Johnny James. A lot of lawyers. This is a big case. It's a very complicated case, and that's why there's so many people working on it. Sitting back in the row, we have David Owen, who's the lead investigator. We have Lieutenant Charles Gent, who's one of the agents, Special Agent Ryan Kelly, and Special Agent Peter Rudolphy. Some of the agents that are working on the case, as well as Investigator Isaac Toledo, who's working on the case as well. There's some of the witnesses that you'll hear from as we go through this case. The judge talked to you a little bit about him being the judge of the law, and he gives you the law. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the legal concepts before I turn back to those facts. Just remember, though, he's the judge of the law, so you take what he says, but I'm going to explain to you some of the legal issues from my perspective before we talk a little bit more about the evidence in the case. And the first thing is, right before you went to lunch, y'all all took an oath. Everybody in this courtroom who's got involvement in this case takes an oath. You know, attorneys take an oath to become an attorney, take another oath to become a prosecutor, judge takes another oath to become a judge, witnesses take oath on the stands, law enforcement take oaths to become law enforcement, but y'all took an oath as well. And the reason why is that y'all have the most important job in this courtroom. Every one of you raised your hand and said that you would well and truly try this case. And it's the most important job here because, like the judge said, he's the judge of the law, but y'all are the judge of the facts. Y'all are going to listen to what comes from that witness stand and judge those facts.
There goes the
But
Bob.
you also have to be mindful of that oath. That oath requires you to do that hard job, to make that decision, to call the strike when you see it. It's the same oath. It's just as important as any other oath. This might be the most important in this courtroom. The judge mentioned reasonable doubt, and he's exactly right. It's the state's burden to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a cornerstone of our country. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a burden we welcome. It's what we want. It's a system that has been well tested and true, and we take that burden to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. But I want to remind everyone that the emphasis is on reasonable. Okay? It's not any doubt. It is reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is often defined, and again, you listen to the judge how he defines it, but reasonable doubt is a doubt that would cause a reasonable person to hesitate to act. To hesitate to act. And when you hear the evidence coming from this stand about this particular case, I submit to you, you won't hesitate to act. Again, remember the emphasis is on reasonable and reasonable doubt. The judge mentioned the charges, and there are 4 of them. First indictment accuses Alec Murdaugh, to which he's pled not guilty, but it accuses him of murdering Maggie Murdaugh. The second indictment accuses him of murdering Paul Murdaugh. The third indictment accuses him of possessing a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, that being the murder of Maggie Murdaugh. And the last one accuses him of possessing a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, and that being the murder of Paul Murdaugh. And what does that mean? What is murder? Well, the judge again is going to instruct you, but it is the unlawful killing of another with malice aforethought. And what is malice? Malice is a mental state. That's ultimately going to be for y'all to determine as to what was going through Alec Murdaugh's mind when he committed these crimes. What is malice? Malice has often been defined as the intentional doing of a wrongful act without just cause or excuse. It is the intent to inflict an injury under circumstances that the law would presume an evil intent. An evil intent. And when you look at the circumstances of the crime, when you look at what led up to this crime, the evidence is going to show that there was malice aforethought. Aforethought, what does that mean? It means it has to exist at the moment you commit that crime. It doesn't have to be planned. It doesn't have to be planned for any long period of time. It just has to exist a split second before the crime is committed. But when you see this crime and you hear all the circumstances, the evidence is going to show that aforethought existed for a while. It existed for a while in the mind of Alec Murdaugh. You're also going to hear about circumstantial evidence. And a lot of times people hear, oh, it's just a circumstantial case. But the law says otherwise. The law says that circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct evidence. And what's the difference between the two? Direct evidence is supposedly about to storm out here, from what I'm told. Direct evidence is if it's sunny outside and a witness goes outside and it's sunny and they come in here and they get on that witness stand and because they saw it raining, they sit on the stand and said, I was just outside and I saw it raining. I saw it raining. That's direct evidence. They actually saw it raining. But to give you an example of what circumstantial evidence is if the witness goes into a room where all the curtains are drawn, and when they go into that room, it's sunny outside and everything's dry. And while they're in that room, they see it darken behind the shades. They hear thunder. They hear the wind blowing. They hear the sound of raindrops on the roof. And then they open up the door, and it's not raining, but everything is wet. There's puddles in the driveway. There's puddles in the street. There's puddles in the yard. There's limbs down all over the ground. And then they come in here and say, yeah, it was raining. Didn't actually see it raining, but those circumstances are beyond any reasonable doubt that it was actually raining. Now, I guess it's possible that somebody could have been standing outside their window and beating a drum to sound like thunder and blowing a fan to make it seem like it was the wind and somehow got enough water to coat the entire neighborhood. But that's not a reasonable doubt. Everybody understand that distinction? That's not a reasonable doubt. Another thing, and this is crucial, what you're going to do in this particular case, is determine credibility or the believability of witnesses. So it would be your job to look at the evidence, the exhibits in the case, but also the witnesses and decide if it's truthful, if you believe it, if you can rely on it. And the judge is going to instruct you that you can believe one witness against many or many witnesses against one. You can believe all the witnesses' testimony or part of the witness' testimony. It's up to you, first individually and then as a product of your deliberations. And what you're required to do there is just to rely on that good old-fashioned common sense. Does it all fit together? Is it corroborated? Does it fit with what you would expect? Does it fit with what you expect how real people would act?
Hey, Liz.
Does it seem real? Does something seem a little off? Does something seemed a little off. You're going to see video statements of Alec Murdaugh. You're going to see body-worn camera of him at the scene when law enforcement arrives. And hear what he says. And hear what he says about that night. You're going to hear 3 recorded statements on video that he gave with law enforcement, and you're going to hear how things progress about what he says and what he says he did that night. Watch those closely. Watch his expressions. Listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's not saying. Use that common sense. Does this seem right? Or does something seem a little off? Something seems a little off about this. I mentioned that Maggie was killed with a .300 blackout rifle, an AR-style rifle but chambered in .300 blackout ammunition. And you're going to hear evidence that back in Christmas of 2016, Alec Murdaugh over there bought 2 .300 blackout AR-style rifles. And then not long after that, one of them went missing from Paul's truck. And time went by, and in April of 2018, Alec Murdaugh replaced that rifle and bought another one. 3 total blackout rifles that they had. One of them went missing years ago, and a replacement was bought. You're going to hear evidence that Paul and his friend were using that replacement gun. They were standing right outside the side door to the gunroom of the house, and they were sighting it in, firing down into a field. And the cases were ejecting. The cases are the empty shell from a bullet, and they were ejecting out into the flower bed right there. And then there's a range across the street, and they shot it there, and there's cases ejected there as well. And they were shooting that 3rd replacement gun just weeks prior to the murders, prior to June 7th, 2021, when Maggie and Paul were murdered. And you're going to hear forensic evidence that the cases that were found in that flower bed and the cases that were found across the street at that range were ejected out of the same weapon that fired all the cases that were around Maggie's dead body.
Right now, dumb bitch Alex is like writing on his little notepad, yep, this is about what I did. Or he's drawing one of those star things he used to make in like 6th grade. Like, what is this asshole writing? You fucking idiot, you dopey bitch.
Killed her. It was a family weapon that killed Maggie Murdaugh. And you're going to hear evidence that of those 3 blackouts that Alec Murdaugh purchased, when law enforcement arrives at the scene on June 7th, 2021, he can only account for one of them. He can only account for one of them. And that replacement gun is nowhere to be found. You're also going to hear evidence that the type of ammunition, the exact brand, the exact model of ammunition that was used to kill Maggie, S&B, .300 blackout ammunition, and 147 grain bullets, that exact ammunition, empty boxes of that ammunition, is found all over the property. The very same brand and model of ammunition that was used to kill her is found at multiple locations throughout the property. And you're also going to hear evidence, the same thing about the shotgun shells that killed Paul.
Go one step.
Federal double-aught buckshot unfired rounds were found on the property, as well as Winchester .2 turkey loads, the 2 rounds in the shotgun that killed Paul. Family weapon, same ammunition. It's on the property.
Look at these 2 idiots.
You're also going to hear evidence that about a week after the murders, Mr. Alec Murdaugh's father had died, Mr. Randolph. And about a week after the murders, he shows up early in the morning at his parents' home, where his mother still is in late-stage Alzheimer's, on Alameda in Hampton. It's uncharacteristic for him to show up early, uncharacteristic for him to show up at all like that. And he comes in and he's carrying something in a blue tarp. And he takes it upstairs. And eventually law enforcement finds out about that. And they go upstairs and they find a wadded up, very, very large raincoat in a blue color. Could look like a tarp. And you're going to hear evidence that it was coated with gunshot residue on the inside. On the inside. You're going to hear.
Here's the thing about this opening statement. He has it written down, but he's not just reading it off like some others we've seen. He has passion with it. He knows the case, and he's making his points. Like, he's doing a great job.
Other evidence of gunshot residue. You're going to hear that there was gunshot residue on Alec at the scene. You're going to hear the evidence that there was gunshot residue on the seatbelt of the car he was driving. You're going to hear evidence that when law enforcement got to the scene, he had gone and gotten a shotgun, Paul's shotgun, and that Maggie's DNA was on that shotgun. You're going to hear other evidence from DNA, gunshot residue, firearms examiners. There's going to be a lot of forensic evidence in this case. And I'm not going to get into every single bit of it right now, but I will say that a key piece of forensic evidence that you're going to hear in this case is the cell phone evidence. Alec's cell phone, Maggie's cell phone, Paul's cell phone. You know, this is all amazing technology that most of us carry around in our pockets. It really allows us to do a lot of things and to get a lot done. But this cell phone keeps track of who we're talking to, who we're calling, who we're texting, whenever we access apps. And every time you do that, there's a record kept in this phone unless it's deleted somehow. And if you're using certain apps, you can even get GPS information where you were when you did that that's stored on these phones. You're going to hear evidence about that. You're going to hear evidence that when you make a call and it pings off of cell towers, that location information can be gathered from that as well. And so it allows an investigation to take this and piece together what someone was doing on a particular day, and not only what they were doing, but who they were interacting with and how they were interacting with them. This is going to be crucial evidence for you to consider. You're going to hear.
What's interesting about his little spiel there about cell phones, he's so right for setting it up like that because of how much we learn about cell phones. And like, I knew cell phones, track stuff, but with this trial, I never realized how much information you can get from a fucking cell phone. I mean, remember the orientation? Like, he set it up. He's so right, but like, it's all there. It's all on the cell phone. Like, so it's just perfect how he set it up.
That particularly Alec and Paul, but also Maggie, were prolific cell phone users, to the point where Paul's friends even had a nickname for him about his cell phone usage. Before I talk more about that, there's 3 family properties I need to talk about. Okay. The first one I've mentioned is Moselle. Moselle in Colleton County. It's called Moselle. It's off Moselle Road, but everybody refers to it as Moselle. And that property is it's a lot of acres. There's a main house on it, and there's a driveway that goes to that main house. But it used to be an airstrip, and there's an airstrip that goes down, and then down the way, just less than a third of a mile away, just a 3-minute walk, 4-minute walk, 45-second drive, is the kennels and the shed that used to be a hangar where Paul and Maggie were murdered. So the main house is just less than a third of a mile away. You can see the kennels from the main house. You can see the main house from the kennels. The family also had a house in Edisto at the beach.
Same, Amber.
And the evidence is going to show that that is where Maggie preferred to stay, particularly in the summer months. She liked the beach. She was not a hunter. She didn't want to be at Moselle. She didn't want to be at the lodge where it was hot and buggy. She liked being in Edisto. And then you're also, I've already mentioned, the house in Alameda, which is where his parents' home. On June 7th, 2021, you're going to hear evidence that his father went into the hospital and the prognosis was not good. And in fact, he died a few days later, and his mother was in late-stage Alzheimer's, and that house being cared for by a caretaker. You're going to hear from that caretaker.
Mr. Waters.
Yes, sir.
Have you pause for a moment? We'll be at ease for just a moment.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. But 15 minutes after they arrived, Paul's phone starts moving towards the kennels. You're going to hear evidence again that the defendant said he was never at those kennels, that he was napping after they ate, and he was at the main house and never went there. You're also going to hear evidence about how much Alec used his own cell phone, and it would be unusual for him to be anywhere without his cell phone. At 8:44 and 55 seconds, Paul recorded a video. He was down at the kennels because he had been talking to a friend of his, and you're going to hear from this friend because his friend's dog was in the kennels and they thought there was something wrong with the tail. And Paul was recording a video of it to send to his friend. 8:44 and 55 seconds. And on that video, and you'll see that video, and you'll hear from witnesses that identify Paul's voice, Maggie's voice, and Alec's voice. Told anyone who would listen he was never there. At 8:44 and 55 seconds, there's a video.
Same, Jack.
The evidence will show that he was there. He was at the murder scene with the two victims. And more than that, just over 3 minutes later, 8:49 and 1 second, Paul's phone locks forever. He never reads another text. He never sends another text. He doesn't answer calls. 3 minutes after that video has the defendant at the murder scene with the two victims, Paul's phone goes silent forever. And in fact, another communication comes into the very friend that he was talking to, the dog, at 8:49 and 35 seconds, just 35 seconds later, and he doesn't answer it. He never answers another thing forever and ever. And on top of that, Maggie's phone locks at 8:49 and 31 seconds, around that same time, and she never answers another text, never sends another text, never makes another phone call, never receives another phone call. 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes after a video shows he's at the scene with the victims, and he told everybody he was never there. Never there. Credibility, ladies and gentlemen.
It's just wild to me, that fucking video. This fucking guy gets away with this, I'm convinced, without that video. And he was convinced he was getting away with it until they told him about those fucking videos. He was so fucking confident, giving statements to the police and just he in his head, he got away with this shit until they told him about that fucking video. He had to know. Oh, those videos, it's just crazy.
Credibility. So what happens after that? Well, you'll hear evidence that Alec's phone was conspicuously didn't have a lot of activity from about 8:09 p.m. until 9:02 p.m. And if he was at the kennels, which the evidence will show, why is his phone not with him? Why is it not showing activity? But you will hear that at 9:02, all of a sudden his phone does start to pick up activity. At 9:02, he he starts moving. At 9:04, he calls Maggie's phone. Doesn't answer, of course. Doesn't answer. He calls his father, Randolph, who's in the hospital. Doesn't appear there's an answer there. He calls Maggie again at 9:06. Remember, he's just a third of a mile away. You can see it. At 9:06, she doesn't answer. At 9:06, he turns on his car, his Suburban, and he texts Maggie that he's going, be right back. I'm going to go check on Mom. And he doesn't drive down to the kennels, even though that's where the mailbox is. That's a common place to be, even though you can see it. He's called his wife 2 times and texted her, and she hasn't responded. But he didn't just drive down there and say, hey, I'm heading. You guys want to go? What's up? What's up? Right there. You can see it. He then drives to Alameda, where his mom is suffering from Alzheimer's, and the caretaker is there. And he starts calling people. He's talking to people. It'll be up to you to decide whether or not he's trying to manufacture an alibi. He gets there to Alameda. You'll hear evidence about whether or not that was usual. You'll hear evidence about how he was acting when he got there. And he's only there for 20 minutes because he's back underway at 9:44. And he makes more phone calls on the way back. Calling friends, calling people who will answer. It'll be up to you to decide whether he's trying to create an alibi. And he gets back to Moselle at 10:01. And he calls 911 at 10:06. Listen to that 911 call. Listen to what he says. Listen to what explanations he may offer. You're going to hear that 911 call, but you're also going to see the body-worn camera of the officers who arrived at the scene. The video camera they wear so that it records what they're doing. And you're going to see what he did to Maggie and Paul. It's going to be gruesome. There's no other way around it. It's what he did. You're going to see crime scene photographs. You're going to see the traumatic injuries that were suffered. You're going to hear from a pathologist, a doctor who will examine the injuries. It's going to be gruesome. There's no other way around it. On that 911 call and on the body-worn cameras, pay attention to what he says. Look at how he's acting. But he says within a few minutes of each one of those, he says, this is about the boat case. This is about the boat case. And you're going to hear some of what was going on in Alex Murdaugh's life leading up to that day. Stuff that happened that very day, stuff that was leading up, a perfect storm that was gathering, much like the storms that are coming outside today. Listen for that evidence. Listen to that gathering storm that all came to a head on June 7th, 2021, the day the evidence will show he killed Maggie and Paul. This has been a long, exhaustive investigation. And it's going to be a fairly long trial because it's complicated. It's a journey. There's a lot of aspects to this case. There's a lot of factors to this case. But like a lot of things that are complicated, when you start to put them all together, piece them together like a puzzle, all of a sudden the picture emerges and it's really simple. It's really simple. Once we get to the end of that journey, and you have a chance to deliberate, the evidence is going to be such that you're going to reach the inescapable conclusion that Alec murdered Maggie and Paul, that he was the storm, that the storm was coming for them, and the storm arrived on June 7th, 2021, just like the storms that are heading here right now, that they died as a result, beyond any reasonable doubt. Thank you.
Just watching it back, you just realize, like, he said it all together. He explained what was going on. He had there's so much shit he has to, like, explain to the jury there that, like, it's such a huge, like he said, it's like such a huge case, and he explained it in a way, he explained with passion, he explained, like, just in a way that they will understand. He's just a great job. Now I'm going to start playing this dopey, dumpy bitch Harpootlian's opening. I'm not going to do the whole thing because A, I don't want to hear his stupid ass, and B, I want to get through some of the other testimony from the case, and we'll be here all night if I play all the clips, but just an amazing job by Creighton.
For the defense.
Please, Court, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Dick Harpootlian. I think I introduced myself to you all and the attorneys, the three other attorneys, Jim Griffin, Philip Barber, Margaret Fox. It is our honor to represent Alec Murdaugh, or Murdaugh, depending on how you pronounce it. I say it's our honor because I submit to you what you have heard from the Attorney General as facts are not. They're his theories, his conjecture. Now stand up. This is Alec Murdaugh. And Alec was the loving father of Paul and the loving husband of Maggie. You're not going to hear a single witness say that their relationship, Maggie and Alex's relationship, or anything.
Here's the thing about this fucking part that fucking pisses me off every time. Even if fucking Harpootlian doesn't think that this fucking asshole murdered his wife and child, which I find it hard to believe he doesn't believe that. Even if he doesn't believe that, he damn well fucking knows about the Satterfield case. He knows about all the fucking money he stole from all those fucking people. Because, I mean, he pled guilty at this point. Like, even if he didn't believe he fucking killed his wife and kid, this guy is a fucking piece of shit. And Harpootlian has the audacity to say, it is our honor to fucking represent him and make him stand up in front of everyone. That's why I have no respect for this fucking guy. I understand he's like this great attorney and whatever. He's like, how dare he? He fucking stole from Tony Satterfield, who was like getting kicked out. His mother died and he did a scam with that shit. Like, fuck him.
Other than loving. You're going to hear about how they went to a baseball game the weekend before. You're going to hear about their relationship. You're going to see texts and emails indicating a loving relationship.
Yeah, sit your bitch ass down, you dumb bitch.
Paul, the apple of his eye. You're going to see a video somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock the night of the murders with Paul and Alec riding around looking at some trees they planted. It's a Snapchat that Paul sent to other people because the trees were not planted very well. They were cantilevering over. They're laughing. They're having a good time. That would be about an hour before the Attorney General says he swatted them. When I say he swatted them, when they were swatted, and no question, Paul Murdaugh was shot twice with buckshot, 12-gauge buckshot, once in the chest. And by the way, that shot would indicate it was in the chest and came out under his arm, like somebody that might have been holding up their hands. So when he says no defensive wounds, he perhaps was being held at shotgun. I mean, I can make the same sort of speculation that the Attorney General can, because that's all he's doing is speculating. What we do know is 12 gauge, fairly close range shot to the chest. He must have been turned because it comes out under his arm. There's wadding, if you're familiar with a shotgun, under his arm. The second shot ended up, and there's going to be some question about the direction of that shot, but ended up entering his skull cavity, and the gases from that shot literally exploded his head like a watermelon hit with a sledgehammer. All that was left was the front of his face. Everything else was gone.
And this is the whole strategy, the whole fucking time, to just make it... I mean, it was horrific, obviously, but to fucking just keep drilling it down how horrific it was, because there's no way that this stupid asshole would kill his son like that when that is what he fucking did. But Harpootlian just had to just every chance he could get. His brain was blown out of his head. And just every time, just trying to prove that there's no way a dad could do that. And we know damn fucking well he did do that. So I've had enough of this piece of shit. And I am going to go to our friend, Tiger Tinsley.
His brain
October 7th, 2000.
But before I do, are you guys ready for this? Here we go. Let's see if this should work.
Hey, Bo, what's this I'm hearing about what you're saying? I thought we were friends. Hey, Bo, what's this I'm hearing about what you're saying? I thought we were friends.
All right. Here's our man, the Tiger. Tinsley's tooth, Tiger, our Tiger. Beth, you still here? Here he is.
You believed was correct.
By the way, this is the cross. Oh, actually, I should probably. Well, all right. I'll start with the cross because this is the best fucking part.
The testimony I gave today is included in what I said to the state grand jury, yes.
And it seems like the gist of this is that you were suing Alex Murdaugh, who you believed was underinsured for this incident, and you're going to go after his personal assets, and that was going to put some financial pressure on him. Is that correct?
Probably not exactly. I mean, I don't mean to quibble with you over the words you used, but I don't think it was financial pressure because I was holding him personally accountable. I was insisting that he pay. I didn't see how a payment plan on a settlement would put any pressure on Alec. It was sort of a deal that he couldn't turn down from where I sat.
But you were asking for money from him.
Sure.
Shannon made them, Amber.
And the inquiry here today is about money, his finances, correct?
I don't think so, but it certainly concerns his money.
And you're anticipating you're going to go to trial, is that correct?
Yes.
You're going to go to trial.
By the way, I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but this was done in camera. This was done before they decided whether they could get the financial information in. So they had to have the witnesses testify so Judge Newman could decide if the financial stuff was going to get in. This was no jury for those that maybe not have known that.
And get a verdict against Alex Murdaugh, correct? That was what you thought. That's where this was going.
No, I mean, I didn't see how any reasonable person wouldn't settle the case, especially Alec. So I expected the case to settle. 90% of cases settle, maybe 99, but if we had to try it, yes, we were going to try it.
And if he were unable to offer more money, then your expectation on, say, on June 7th, before these murders, your expectation was if he doesn't offer more money, we're going to trial.
Any money.
Right.
It was no money.
Right.
No money had been offered.
So your expectation then was we're going to trial.
If you offer
Thank
me
you,
no money
Terry.
in a case that
Thank
I'm
you so
pursuing
much.
against you, then
You're the
the
best.
response
Thank you.
is we are going to trial.
And
sure
you were
that's
pretty far from trial
so true.
on June 7th, 2021, were you not?
No.
You believe you were close to taking it to trial?
There was an urgency because John Tiller knew that he had about a year to live, and we were going to try that case. My expectation was early fall, late summer.
You expected to try the boat case in the summer of 2020, late summer of 2021?
August, September, October, sometime in that time
You
frame.
felt like you were only 2 or 3 months away from trial?
Sure.
Even though we had all these pending motions that hadn't even been heard, including what venue to have?
I had tried the case 2 times with a Beaufort jury during COVID. I was ready to go to trial.
On that day, on June 7th, you hadn't even yet asserted a negligent entrustment claim against Alex Eddy.
Well, I had with John Tiller. John Tiller knew and had agreed to the amendment.
Right.
There were a number of things that Alex counsel had agreed to, including knowing that there was substantial punitive evidence in the case.
But you, at that time, you hadn't even asserted that claim to the court. That
Well-
wasn't before the court, was it? That was just a conversation with John Tiller.
That's the conversation that mattered, because John Tiller would be the one who would object to the late presentation of the evidence, the late presentation of an expert, and he had agreed to all those things.
But he had objected to the financial discovery you asked for.
Well, there was an objection posed, correct?
But he did object to that.
When that answer was given in
You did it, Terry. Thank
October,
you.
September of 20, it was an objection.
And the hearing that motion to compel the financial detail, the testimonies, that's just one of many motions that needed to be heard. Is that correct?
Correct.
There were many motions that had piled up and needed to be heard.
There were several.
There were several. Do you remember what they all were?
There was a motion to change venue. There was a motion to compel against Parker's. There was, Parker's had 1 or 2 motions. Some of the motions got resolved, one of which was this motion to assert admiralty in the case, and with the agreement that I would amend to assert your negligent entrustment claim, to get in all of the evidence that they knew I had. That was resolved that way.
And you've had a lot of motions practiced in this case with Parker's, haven't you?
More so since the murder.
But has that motions practice with Parker's been about the murders of Maggie and Paul?
Well, I mean, it's about it in the sense that that it certainly created a lot of additional issues to deal with, but not specifically.
There was a lot of motion practice about allegations of leaking of video from mediation, for example, correct?
I don't know about a lot, but I had filed a motion that I ultimately withdrew.
And you believe that you were going to drag Parker's to a trial within 2 or 3 months, late summer of June 7th, even though we have all these fairly preliminary motions that haven't been heard, change of venue, asking to amend pleadings, motions to compel discovery.
Yeah, maybe you've never tried a civil case. So when COVID happened and everything was shut down for 2 months, I got my case together. My case is not dependent on, if I'm forced to try it, the bank institutions where he has accounts. My case is not dependent on the leaked video. That's a separate matter, and ended up being a separate lawsuit. So the answer is yes. I was ready to try my case.
And you didn't need, for example, an answer on the motion to compel that was pending against Parker's. You didn't actually need any of that stuff to go to trial against Parker's. Is that what you're saying?
You're talking about the percentage of financials, percentage of sales that alcohol made up in his profits? No, I didn't need that.
Well, let's get that up.
I wanted it, but I didn't need it.
Show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 82. You recognize that?
It appears to be my motion to compel against Greg Parker's company.
Can we pull up 82, please? And this is the document on the screen that I've handed to you. Requesting answer 18, interrogatory number 10 is
June 10th.
So you didn't-
Either I was getting it or I wasn't getting it, but
Do you believe a rule?
there's nobody in the courtroom, maybe even including me, that wants the case resolved more than Judge Hall.
And when the late Mr. Tiller asked for a continuance.
By the way, look at how many people are in the gallery
You don't
now.
believe that was any kind of stalling tactic, do you?
No.
That was a legitimate health-based concern.
And if you read my emails, you would see that I immediately agreed to it. John Tiller was my friend.
With regards to what you're asking for from Alex, what's Exhibit B in here? It's right there. That's it.
I thought I had the thing timed where the best moment. I'm trying to find it.
It's the first page after the motion, so it'd be page 9 of the.
Thought wrong. There's a lot of papers, so maybe you got confused.
Oh, listen to this.
He granted.
Listen to this
Before
line.
there's even motions for summary judgment, before there's any consideration of whether a case has been made for punitive damages, do you typically get this level of financial discovery of defendants?
I think so. I think the judge ultimately agreed to give it to me.
He agreed to give it to you.
Sure.
But I thought the hearing didn't happen.
Well, you thought wrong. There's a lot of papers, so maybe you got confused.
Oh,
He granted
shit,
this
you
motion?
stupid bitch.
I think so. You want to see the order?
Here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. All right, I'll rewind it. I'm sorry. I was loud.
It's
This level
This
of financial
is-
discovery of defendants?
This is the
I
fucking
think so. I
moment
think the
of
judge
moments here.
ultimately agreed to give it to me.
He agreed to give it to you.
Sure.
But I thought the hearing didn't happen.
Well, you thought wrong. There's a lot of papers, so maybe you got confused.
He granted this motion?
I think so. You want to see the order?
Yeah.
It's the record, October 7th, 2021.
And correct me if I'm wrong, what you've highlighted here is
A, look at how fucking red Phil Barber is here. But B, he just knows fucking Mark. He reeled him in. He fucking knew that he was going to ask him that question. And he brought it with him with the fucking receipts in his pocket. He fucking knew that was coming. And he was one step ahead of Phil. And he's like, oh, you want the receipts, bitch? Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. If I'm Phil Barber there, I'm probably like, I don't want to see that paperwork. This hasn't been admitted as evidence. Don't show me this. It's out of your pocket. But no, Phil takes it from him. Look at him. He's red. His pants are shit fully. This man just got bitched on national TV.
that Mr. Tiller.
Look at him. He's stuttering. He's fucking stuttering right here.
Today, Junior?
Tiller, because of circumstances beyond his control, unable to gather, provide necessary information, answer requested interrogatories. Once the information is made available to Attorney Tiller, the court will schedule a hearing.
If necessary. You forgot the last part.
If necessary. The
Yes.
court will schedule a hearing
That's
if
right.
necessary.
Which
If
means,
Mr. Tiller, the attorney on the case, can, from his own client, get the information. This is no way says that the court granted this motion, does it, sir?
Only to you, I think. I mean, it's clear that John said that Alec was unavailable because he was in rehab at the time. He couldn't get the material. He's going to get the material, and the judge ordered, you get the material, and if we need to schedule a hearing because you don't have the answers that you want, Mr. Tinsley, then we'll reschedule the hearing.
I mean, this is an order that says the court will schedule a hearing on this motion to compel if necessary. It's not granting the motion to compel, sir, is it?
Oh, I think so. I think if he was just going to deny it as you suggest, then it would have just said denied, or it's
granted,
premature.
Would he say granted?
Well, I think that's what it says. It's a practical matter when parties have discovery motions. Oftentimes, like Alec has, in his own statement, said he was working on getting the answers. The reason is you give the answers because you don't want to face what could happen in the argument with the judge. So my point is that if the judge were going to say it's premature, you're not going to get it, it's denied, any of the things you suggested in your motion, he would have said that. That's not what he did. That's not what happened.
All right, I'm going to pause it there because what do you think, babe? Time to do 3 more giveaways. For those who haven't been there all the time, we are giving away this Brang the Jury sticker.
Number 17. 17. Oh, it's Natalie.
Natalie?
Yep.
Is Natalie here?
I haven't seen her yet. Okay, I got another one.
I'm playing it for less than 10 seconds, Jody. I'm not playing it for the full thing, so I think I should be all right. All right.
21.
All right. So who do we get? We got Natalie. Natalie's not here. We'll have to let her know.
And Rachel B.
Rachel B, are you here? Natalie and Rachel B.
Okay, we're doing one more.
Wait, hold on. How many have we given away so far? We've given away 6, right? Well, so far we've given away 5?
We've given away 5 so far. This is number 6. Okay. B5. Purple Iris. Is she here?
Purple Iris. I feel like everyone is not here. It's not
Only
her.
Karen. Karen's here.
The Karen one, she's
She
here.
won and she's here. Okay. All right.
All right. Thanks, babe. We have some more to give away in a little bit. Exactly, Jen. All right. So, who's ready for the man who I'm about to interview tomorrow at 7 p.m. Available for everyone. The man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Kenneth Kinsey. I'm ready. Watch this. You guys ready for this? Hold on. Let me set this aside.
No, it come out of his head. Okay. And the ones in the floor death scenes in my career.
Do right now is just to remind.
All right, you guys ready for this? Here we go.
The cone. It's a cone. The cone. It's a cone.
Gotta work on that one. I gotta work on that one.
The cone. It's a cone.
All right, so this is the testimony with Alan Wilson, the Attorney General. This is the second time that he had to come on to testify. This is The surprise guest, Kim, is going to come on after I do Dr. Kinsey and we start doing good old Alex testimony. The surprise guest is going to come on, and you shall see. So let me start some of this testimony from our man, Dr. Kinsey.
The jury, give them a little bit of background on your education, your work history, your credentials that made you qualified to be an expert witness.
Yes, sir. I've got a degree from Clemson University, a master's degree, that's undergraduate, a master's degree from Troy University, a PhD from Walden University. I have formerly been certified by the International Association for Identification 2 different times for crime scene investigation and reconstruction. I've worked approximately 800 death scenes in my career, and I've handled and processed countless evidence in crime scene and the crime scene related disciplines. I have completed and passed proficiency in those disciplines as recommended by the International Association for Identification, which includes oral exams, research, technical work, and also I worked under a qualified examiner for a determined amount of time. And I've been a police officer for approximately 30 years in various capacities.
And just to remind the jury, you were qualified as a forensic or crime scene forensics expert in this particular case.
Yes, sir, I was.
And real quick, what other types of qualifications as an expert do you possess?
I'm also a firearms instructor for handguns, shotguns. They call them patrol rifles, but that includes subguns, fully automatic and semi-automatic platforms. I have endorsements through the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. I'm also a SLED concealed weapons permit instructor, and I'm formerly a law enforcement firearms instructor through the NRA.
Now, you've had an opportunity to review the case file for this particular case, correct?
Yes, I have.
And you have actually been out to the crime scene, correct?
I have.
Beg the court's indulgence. I would like to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 526. Do you recognize this map?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is it?
There's the trunk.
There's
the trunk.
Satellite map from the Moselle property.
I would like to offer this into evidence. I assume no objection.
Submit it.
I should probably ask Dr. Kinsey, you had to be distracted by that, right? There's a woman right next to you just talking into an electronic elephant trunk. How could you not be distracted by that?
Dr. Kinsey, we're going to keep our testimony today narrowly focused and tailored to a few witnesses that the defense put up this past week. Did you have the opportunity to observe one witness named Michael Sutton, who was a forensic mechanical engineer for the defense?
I did.
Now, do you recall any of his conclusions or what his main conclusion was regarding the size of the shooter?
I do.
What was that conclusion?
5'2" to 5'4".
Gray boys.
I would like now, Doug, if you would, I would like for you to publish or cut on Defense Exhibit 140. Go to page 49. Okay, now what I want to do is we're going to get into this in just a moment, but they published this into evidence last week. And do you recognize these green lines coming out?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, and what do those green lines represent?
Those green lines represent a predicted static angle or I don't know what you would call it, trajectory for possible shooters.
And Doug, if you would go to page 74 of this presentation, please. Do you recognize this photo on page 74 of the defense exhibit?
I do.
And what is it?
It is Mr. Sutton pointing a pump-action shotgun into the feed room at Moselle.
Okay.
Here's the thing about Dr. Kinsey. In addition to being brilliant and polite and just an excellent teacher, you guys watch him as he, every time, He looks at the jury. He's connecting with the jury. The man's just brilliant. I just look up to him so much.
Okay, and did Mr. Sutton develop his conclusions as to the height of the shooter based on math that he did in this particular case?
He said it was trigonometry, but yes, sir, he did.
Based on your many years of law enforcement experience, education, and training, what is your overall opinion on his conclusions?
I think his intentions are well, but I think his methods were flawed.
Do you hear that? That's Dr. Kinsey, who's a saint and will never talk bad about anyone. Like, that's him saying that his report was bullshit, the defense expert. But, like, Dr. Kinsey is so kind, he won't say it in a way like this is, not obviously he's not going to say this is bullshit, but, like, he's saying it in a way where he's just saying, like, come on. Come on. 5'2" gray boys, what are we doing here?
So what I want to do is I want to go back, and there were 3 previous angles that we just looked at in the previous slide, correct?
That is correct.
And then he also determined an angle here in this photo, correct?
That is correct.
And those are the angles that he used to determine the height of the shooter, correct?
That is correct. And Mr. Wilson, I don't know the totality of what he considered, but that was one of the elements, one of the criteria he used.
Okay, just to refresh the jury's recollection, Doug, if you go to page 4, it should be State 62. It's a picture. What is that a picture of?
That is a picture of what's been described as a quail pen.
Go to page 5, please. And what is that a picture of?
That is a close-up of that quail pen, and it has weathered cardboard on one end.
Okay, and that, for the record, is Exhibit 63 that is a picture of. And go to page 6, which should be State 64. And what is that a picture of?
That is a close-up of what appears to be a bullet defect or bullet damage in that cardboard.
Okay, now, they base their angles, of at least 2 angles. Well, let's back up. There were 2 angles taken from this particular one bullet hole. Why is that?
There were. I believe the original crime scene agent gave a possibility of 2 angles of the angle of impact in the cardboard.
Okay, and what are some things that someone can determine from examining a bullet hole in this cardboard?
Well, the first thing is direction. It lets you know that you had one or at least one projectile fired from that direction. It's a pretty good indicator for direction.
Okay, what's another thing that you can determine?
Sometimes you can determine the angle of impact and whether that bullet was affected before it struck that object. And what I mean is, was it deflected by flesh, or did it hit its target, or is there an internal problem with the weapon that would cause that bullet to be off-center?
Are you comfortable with the direction that was determined by Special Agent Worley in this particular photo?
I'm very confident of that direction.
Okay. The defense determined that there were 2 potential angles. How confident are you that the methodology used to determine those angles are accurate?
I have 0 confidence from this piece of evidence as far as establishing angles.
So that's interesting. You feel good about the direction of the bullet going into the quail cage, but you have a concern about the angle, correct?
That is correct.
Do you have a concern about the angle?
The angle of impact, yes, sir, that is correct.
What are 2 things that could affect the angle of impact on a surface like this cardboard?
As I mentioned before, you could have, that bullet could have hit an object, which we don't know, or it could be an internal problem with the firearm that causes it. When you think about, if I could explain,
yes.
When you think about a quarterback throwing a football, they spin that football and it makes it stable in flight. Well, a projectile coming out of the muzzle of a firearm, a single projectile firearm, works the same way. You've got little lands and grooves in that barrel. And as that propellant pushes that projectile down the barrel, it twists. Now, there's different twists depending on the firearm, but that twist, called rifling most commonly, that's what my grandfather called it, but it makes that bullet stable in flight. anything that can throw that projectile off of battery, whether it be striking something or a firearm problem, maybe fouling too much lead in the barrel, those kind of things will make that bullet off center. Now, it still may go the general direction, but the rotation of that projectile could be off just a little bit when it strikes the target.
So a good analogy would be a lineman getting his hand on a football and making it go wobbly, but it keeps going, correct?
That would work, yes, sir.
See, they just break it exactly, Viv. Just breaks it down so simply for the jury to understand. Just brilliant. The two of them, I don't think there was a better pairing. There was between Alan Wilson and Dr. Kinsey. I think the two of them were the best pairing in the entire trial as far as attorney and expert that got across their point.
Don't leave the witness.
Doug, could you zoom in on this hole real quick? Dr. Kinsey, I'd like to ask.
All right, I'm going to fast forward a little bit to our favorite part because we're going to be here all night. We can't watch this whole thing, but I'm going to go to our favorite part.
I'd ask you to step down here, and for demonstrative purposes, I'd like you to demonstrate how
I put little or no confidence in that angle of the impact.
Time.
Your understanding of how high that defect is.
$4'2".
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And did you inspect, when you were out there, did you inspect the entry in the quail pen or the damage to the shop behind the quail pen at all?
I looked at all of it, but I did not run any angles.
Okay. And did you ever talk to Agent Worley about her measurements?
I did, yes, sir. I did interview Agent Worley about her work on the scene.
When was that?
Back the first or second week of December at the New Sled Laboratory.
Okay.
I can give you an exact date if I look back through my notes.
I don't need.
And the thing about this is, now Dr. Kinsey will never say a bad word about anyone, I don't think. But the thing about this cross on him is, Dr. Kinsey is brilliant. We all know that. He's been doing this for 30 years. And you could just tell from his testimony, he obviously knows what he's talking about and what he said was right. Now he's got this guy, he's got Jim Griffin trying to dispute what he did, which was clearly done right. I mean, the man literally counted the pellets in the bullets. Like, this man knows what he's fucking doing. He's got Jim Griffin deferring to this guy from Connecticut who's got two 5'2" gray boys. He's got two 5'2" gray boys, and Dr. Kinsey has to defend himself against that bullshit. I feel like any of us would have been like lost our minds, and Dr. Kinsey's just a saint, and he's patient, and I would have lost my fucking mind.
That, but are you being compensated for your time?
I am, yes, sir.
And how much have you been paid thus far, and how much you hope to get paid before it's all said and done?
Well, I'm a Baptist, so if I didn't charge something, my friends and family would talk bad about me. But my retainer is $2,500, and I have a flat $100 an hour rate. And when I added it up, I was up a little over 100 hours. But I ended my retainer myself without anyone asking me to do a little over a week and a half ago. And I'm now working off of a mutual aid agreement that my sheriff's allowing me to do that, Sheriff Leroy Ravenel from Orangeburg.
Sure.
So I'm not charging anything from a little bit before last week on.
By the way, I hope he's upped his prices, what he charges, because whatever he charges, people should pay him. I have never seen a better witness, I don't think, than him.
So 100 hours, $100, is that?
That's roughly, I've spent.
Exact angle, but do you believe it's rising toward the quail pen?
Well, I believe it could be. I'm not going to make them up.
No, I mean, would you have to know all those things to know how high the muzzle is off the ground at any point along that? Now, on this Faro, and Faro is the SLED does Faro work, do they not?
Yes, sir.
And it is the state-of-the-art technology. You've not done that math.
No, sir, and I saw no need.
Mr. Palmbach and Dr. Eisenstadt, but under your analysis, the shot of the gun was up through the left shoulder, jaw, and out the top of the head. Correct?
Yes, sir, that is my opinion.
And you, I'm going to come up here, and this is the feed room door here. I just want to understand where you have Paul under your analysis. Is Paul on this side?
Which shot, Mr. Griffin?
The last shot.
The fatal shot?
Yes, sir.
Well, as I mentioned in my report, I would assume he's closer to this wall because I've got a void 6 inches below that light switch. If you look at the outside photograph of that building, there's a silver light cover on the wall. And about 6 inches below that, I've got one stray satellite drop of blood, and then it's fairly clean. You've got some outliers, but it's fairly clean.
The barrel is 2.5 feet away? Then you've got the back left-handed, you think?
A little bit. The ejection port's on the right.
Standing there, and the end of the muzzle is 2.5 feet away?
Yes, sir.
You're saying eject in the room?
The door is this wide. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
At 45 degrees?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's doable.
This is where myself, if I was on the stand, I'd be like, I fucking said it 1,000 times, you dumb bitch. You know what I'm fucking telling you. Stop asking the same fucking question. But Dr. Kinsey, of course, is a saint and would never say that. But this is him essentially doing that.
Doable. Yes, sir.
And then under your analysis.
Your analysis.
Your analysis.
Your analysis.
Oh, my analysis. Okay.
Your analysis.
Yes, sir.
We're not there. We're not there. We're still in court. The shot's going up through Paul, chest, jaw, out the top of his head.
Yes, sir.
Number 2 bird shot.
Number 2 steel shot, dry lock, 3-inch. Yes, sir.
And you counted, and I think you said 150, 156. I can't remember.
Well, the literature says 156. I was like 150, but I kept getting tired of counting, and I think I kept messing up. So I'm going to say the literature is probably correct.
You hear that, guys? This man counted the pellets in the bullets. He counted them to see how many there were. He's just amazing.
Okay, and I think there were some 60 to 70 that were found in his body, at least.
I have no reason to doubt that. No, sir. I didn't go 1, 2, 3, 4 and count them on the X-ray, but I believe that.
Okay, and Doug, if you'll pull up, please, Defendant's Exhibit 188, which is in evidence. To steel pellets?
Yes, sir. That's no other way for him to get out. Yes, sir.
And you went out there and you found one indentation.
Well, it's an indentation, but that is a little deceptive because you can see the paint damage to the top of the door. One indent is what I found, but I said bullet defects. The S got dropped from that. But if you zoom in on that, you can see where the paint was just disturbed around that indentation. But one proves it didn't go back the other direction, Mr. Griffin. It doesn't take a lot.
So if you'll pull up 188, Defendants in evidence 188, and this is not under seal.
True. Good point, Dr. Arty. I would never do anything to disrespect Judge Newman.
Zoom in on the indentation. Door?
Yes, sir.
Did you document any defects that you observed on the door?
The pellet marks on there, yes, sir. You just cut that one down, but if you move up a little bit, you can see the little indentions right there in the paint.
All right, back it up, Doug.
Right above the hinge, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
There's several of them there.
And then you see this pellet here in the.
I did not see that, but I'm vertically challenged, and I wish I could have looked up and saw that pellet, but I did not see that pellet lodged in that door frame. But I'm glad, Mr. Palmbach, however you say his name, I'm glad he found it because that even proves my point a little bit more.
Well, I want to ask you. According to your shot angle, how would a pellet get there?
It's really, I mean, the cone. It's a cone, Mr. Griffin. I've already described how a shot pattern works. It's a cone.
So this missed his head, you think?
No, it come out of his head.
Okay.
And the ones in the floor in the feed room probably also come out of his head. They bounced off that door, the OSB.
That's the part, man. That's the part where he just had it enough. Like for Dr. Kinsey to be like, really? Like he was just done. And you know how hard it is. I'm sure, like, just for him to say that, like, really? It's a cone? You could just see he's just frustrated because this guy is not fucking listening to him or he just won't accept his answer. And, like, that's, for Dr. Kinsey to do that would be, like, I just feel like any of us would just lose our minds. But Dr. Kinsey is just a saint of a man.
And in the feed room.
Okay. And so you believe that that this pellet.
I did not see that, but I'm vertically challenged. That even proves my point a little bit more.
Well, I want to ask you. According to your shot angle, how would a pellet get there?
It's really, I mean, the cone. It's a cone, Mr. Griffin. I've already described how a shot pattern works. It's a cone.
So this missed his head, you think?
No, it come out of his head.
Okay.
And
all right, so that's our Dr. Kinsey testimony that we're going to do tomorrow, 7:00. Me and Dr. Kinsey are going to have a nice chat. And while I set up our last giveaway here, I'll have our guest sign on while we set up this our next giveaway here.
Michelle H.
Michelle H. Let me just see.
That's not. See, so we have Mish H. It's not her. It's Michelle H.
Michelle H. Let me see if I can. I just want to make sure that my guest can hear me, but I'm not sure. Let's see. All right. Hold on. All right. So sorry, we're setting this up. So who do we got? Did you do another one?
Yes, Lori Bale, and she was here tonight. I don't know
Lori
if she's
Bale.
still here, but you won, Lori. Oh, that was not going there. Okay.
So on the.
Want me to do one more?
Yeah, one more. How many did you do? You did 2?
2. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. It is 12. Number 12, who is... Where are you, number 12? Disney Nerd 85. They were here tonight, too.
Disney Nerd 85. They were here.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations, everybody. All right, let me just see now if I can set up. Hopefully I have this set up correctly. All right, I'm about to bring on the guest. I hope she can hear me. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, wait, is that right? Everybody, there she is. Can you hear me, Jen?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Woohoo!
How's it going?
It's good. It's fun watching this stuff again.
Thanks so much for being here. Can you see, if you go on your, can you see the chat on your screen? There should be like a little...
Let's see. Hang on. I got my laptop open.
Oh, okay. If you have it on there, you can see it there too. But, Jen was there. If you guys don't know, Jen was there like every day. She reported on this case. She knows all the ins and outs on it.
Whew. 6 weeks.
6 weeks. What was that like for you?
Well, when I went, my husband's like, "How long are you going to be gone?" And I said, like 2, 3 weeks. And about a weekend, I was like, "It's probably going to be a little longer, buddy." He was like, "What?"
So that's a long time to be there, huh? A long time to be away from home.
Yep. And a little trailer outside of a courthouse in Walterboro for 6 weeks
You
with
were in
Dylan
a
and
trailer?
Will. Yeah, we had like a RV trailer that we set up the production studio in, and it was like right next to the courthouse. It was crazy.
That's wild. All right, so we're gonna do our boy Alec and his testimony. Tell me what. First of all, we obviously we're going through this whole thing. We don't know. No one knows. Is he gonna? Did you think from the beginning that he was gonna testify?
We had kept hearing that he was going to testify from people who had like other reporters who had good sources, and the our defense sources were like, "We haven't decided yet." I didn't believe until that man took the stand that he was actually going to do it. I still cannot believe he took the stand.
So
It's
go ahead.
it was insane. I mean,
when
my
you
mom and dad live in Florida, and they were like, "We're driving up right now." You'll see them in the audience. My mom's head pops out in the aisle.
Oh, get out of here! So they drove there from Florida.
They drove up and went into the courthouse.
How long is that? How long is that trip?
It was like 7 hours. They stayed for a week just to keep me company.
Oh, that was
and,
cool to just hang out with them, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
and see kind of what I was doing.
So you hear he's gonna testify now. Like you lose your mind. Like you like I gotta get all this. Like what do you do once you find that out? Like
I still can't believe he took the stand. And this, like the second he got on the stand, I was like, it was like an out of body experience. I was like, I cannot believe this is happening.
and how was it?
And
in,
I
like, the
could tell,
courtroom?
I could tell everybody was like on the edge of their seats. I could tell Dick and Jim were not happy. Um, the prosecution was giddy. It was crazy.
So
it was just. Everybody was just waiting to see what dumbass stuff he said.
So fast forward. You filled out the request to get the letters, right? Tell us what you got for the people who don't know. Jen's the one who got all the information on these letters that our boy's getting in jail.
Will and I were talking. I was like, "What can we FOIA from prison?" And he's like, "Let's just FOIA for everything and see. Like, we'll throw everything at the wall and see what sticks." And I got them back and I sent them to Will. I was like, "You need to look at this right now." And he was like, "Oh my God." Like it was, and it gets crazier. It's like every month they get crazier. Like every month I have a standing reminder, send another FOIA to the prison system. And every month, one lady was like, "Why aren't you responding? I think I love you." And I'm like, "Oh."
How many in total are there?
So the last one we got back was 83 pages, and I'd say about 80% of those were messages.
From different women?
Different. Some were like repeat women. Some were, there were a few men thrown in there. There was one reporter from Georgia, I think a Savannah station. I was like, I would send it for you, but I don't want to be in this. I would send a letter to Alex.
That's wild. All right, let me set this up. I hope I have this set up right. Let me pull this up. Oh, can you hear me now? Can you see our boy Alec on the screen?
Yep.
All right,
yep,
awesome.
I can see him.
Here we go, guys. Let's watch some of this.
I'm Alec Murdaugh, Murdaau.
By the way, the immediate lip smacking. Ugh.
The lip smacking. Oh my God. I was like, make it stop.
It's so gross and just loud and gross.
GH.
I bet you he's a loud sleeper.
Good morning.
Like one of those, like.
Adjust that mic, pal.
Mr. Murdaugh, on June 7th, 2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son Paul in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, if you take a 300 blackout, such as this, and fire it into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a 300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime. Ever.
So let me ask you this. Are you noticing, which everyone's seen since, that he's nodding his head yes, as he, like, while this is happening live?
Yeah, so the Colleton County deputies who were on the scene that night they would come out to the trailer and talk to us. And the one came out and he said, I want you to say something that isn't true and nod your head at the same time. It's like hard. It's physically hard to do. And it was like, I was like, I mean, it's crazy how difficult it is to do that.
Every time he's lying.
Every time. And I swear to God, that man got caps on his teeth at some point because they used to be nasty and now they're like all white and stuff. I think so.
I mean, it makes sense. Look at it. There we go. Bob and sob. It's like he had a mechanism to rev up his tears. Like that was his mechanism.
And it's funny
Mr.
because
Murdaugh,
when the
is that
jury
you?
wasn't there, he didn't do that.
Nothing. Right?
When the jury, nothing.
He's like happy,
It was
right?
an
Talking to
absolute
everyone, just bullshitting.
Right. And it would be the same difficult testimony and no bob and sob.
It's crazy.
On the kennel video at 8:44 p.m. on
gallery.
June 7th, the night Maggie and Paul were murdered.
It is.
Were you in fact at the kennels at 8:44 p.m. on the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
I was.
Did you lie to Sled Agent Owen and Deputy Laura Rutland?
Look at Creighton.
On the night of June 7th and told them that you stayed at the house after dinner?
I did lie to them.
Did you lie to Agent Owen and Agent Croft on the follow-up interview on June 10th that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner?
I did lie to them.
And in the interview of August 11th, did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Croft, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
Alec, why did you lie to Agent Owen, Agent Croft, and Deputy Rutland about the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
As my addiction evolved over time, I would get in these situations or circumstances where I would get paranoid thinking. It could be anything that triggered it. It might be a look somebody gave me. It might be a reaction somebody had to something I did. It might be a policeman following me in a car. That night, June 7th, after finding Mags and Paul, don't talk to anybody without Danny with you. All my partners were just repeatedly telling me that. I had a deputy sheriff taking gunshot tests from my hands. I'm sitting in a police car with David Owen asking me about my relationship with my wife and my son. And all those things coupled together after finding them, coupled with my distrust for Sled, caused me to have paranoid thoughts. Normally, when these paranoid thoughts would hit me, I could take a deep breath real quick and just think about it, reason my way through it, and Just get past it really quickly. On June the 7th, I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think I was capable of reason. And I lied about being down there. And I'm so sorry that I did.
Gross.
I'm sorry to my son Buster. I'm sorry to Grandma and Papa T. I'm sorry to both of our families. Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Pawpaw.
All right, so a few things about this. First of all, when Dr. Kinsey looks at the jury, I'm like, oh, that's a great. When this guy looks at the jury, I'm like, how fucking dare you? Don't look at them. Don't try to win them over. Like, it just angers me.
I would have been, they did not like when he was looking at him. And when I came out and looked at my phone, I had texts from like 3 people who knew Alec and the family, and they all said he's never referred to Maggie and Paul as Mags and Pawpaw. Not once. I've never heard that.
That was my next question. If you'd ever, so none of them had ever heard him say that.
Nobody, nope.
So this guy went to jail.
Not one person.
He just thought, I'm going to win them over. They're going to think. And he was just so over the top with it. He couldn't just say it once. Every time.
Over and over and over. And no, I don't think he was addicted to drugs. I think he may have done drugs on occasion. I think a lot of them did. The law firm is what I hear, but not $8 million worth of drugs.
Right.
He'd be dead.
Right. There's just no way. Oh, that's what I was curious. So no one's ever heard him until he comes on the stand. That's just.
And I mean, these are people that like went to ISSA with them, hung out with them on the boat, like not once.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Also, do you think Jim knows he's going to do this? Like he's going to go the Mags and Pawpaw route when he's like starts, or like that? Do you think that surprised him?
I think a lot of what Alex said surprised Jim.
Yeah, I could definitely tell there were a few times where he was like thrown off, like he was like not prepared.
And I think Dick refused to do the examination. I think he made Jim do it.
Really? Dick wasn't going to do it?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want you to do it, but if you're going to do it, Jim, take over.
Yep.
I would never intentionally do anything to hurt either one of them.
I thought it was so interesting when the one juror was like, they were like, but he cried so much. He was like, he snotted. No tears.
Yeah, it was all snot. Like he had stuck Tabasco up his nose or something.
Right. Now here's a question I have for you. There was a reporter on another station who made a big deal that 2 jurors were crying. And then it turns out that never happens. Did you ever see 2 jurors crying? Yeah. That made me so mad. That made me so mad because when he was reporting that, I was like, shit, they're believing this. So they weren't buying this, you don't think, the jury? I mean, clearly, obviously, they did.
I mean, the one that fell asleep, that did happen.
Okay, so one of them fell asleep, but none of them were crying.
Some of that testimony was rough. I mean, there were times where I was like, oh my God, this is so boring.
Yeah.
Ever.
Did you continue lying after that night? Did you not?
But once I lied, I continued to lie. Yes, sir.
Why?
You know, oh, what a tangled web we weave. But once I told a lie.
I mean, this guy's an attorney, and he doesn't realize he's giving them the perfect line for the rest of the trial to say something like that.
I think he's so narcissistic. He thought he could talk his way out of it. I think he thought, I'm going to get on the stand and everybody's going to love me.
Right now,
I mean,
he's thinking he's killing it, and they're all buying it, right?
Yeah. I think he probably walked out and was like, yeah, I got this.
Right.
I mean, I told my family I had to keep lying.
Look at that face, jeez.
Alex, tell the jury what happened on the evening of June 7th, starting when you met with Paul.
I'd been at work that day, a fairly normal day. You mean start in the morning or?
Sure, start in the morning.
Right there. There's no way he wanted him to start in the morning. When he says that, you want me to start in the morning? Jim's like, sure, you fucking idiot. Why would you start in the morning? I told you to start at night, and then you want me to start in the morning? No, I would have asked you to start in the morning if I wanted you to start in the morning, you idiot. Like, he's such an idiot. But he thinks, like you said,
like, all right, I guess we're starting in the morning.
Go for it.
Yeah, let's give them as much inconsistencies as possible.
Exactly. Like, it's just like that was one of those times where I'm like, Jim is like, oh my god.
It was just a regular morning. Maggie was leaving to go out of town. She was going to a doctor's appointment, and she had some stuff to do at ISSA, where she was having some work done on our house at ISSA. But Maggie was there that morning. She went to leave, and she told me she was doing these things. I always asked Maggie to come back home and stay with me. But anyway, Maggie had left. She did her thing. I went to work, did work. I learned from Paul that...
Who's Paul?
That's Paul, my son Paul, Murdaugh.
Even Jim's like, who the fuck is Paw?
Name for him is Paul.
Yeah, we called him Paw.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Buster, Maggie, I called him Paul or Paul Terry, but Mags called him Paw. Buster called him Paw. A lot of people called him Paw. But anyway, I learned about I had known that CB, the guy that worked for us, had sprayed the sunflowers. I knew about that, but I'd been out of town. I didn't know they were dead. Paul let me know they had died. So we had to replant the dove field. That's our dove field, which the dove field is just a big social part of having property. People come, and it's just a social big part of it. So the dove field was a big deal. So when the sunflowers got killed, we knew they were dead. Paul was coming home, and I learned that early Monday morning.
And and we'll catch back up. But at some point in time, did you meet up with Paul?
Yeah, after work, I met Paul at the property.
And we're going to backfill and talk about more of the day, but I just want to focus in on that evening right now.
Okay.
When Paul gets to the property, what do y'all do?
First thing we do is we go to the dove field, and we look at the dove field. And
how'd you get to the dove field?
He had come in my brother's truck. We got in my son Buster's black pickup truck. We called it Buster's truck, or the black pickup truck. You've heard it called too, but I call it Buster's truck.
Okay, so you're in Buster's truck, and you go to the dove field. Tell the jury what else.
Well, that's the first thing we do. We go to the dove field, and
So here's a question I have for you. What's the dynamic of the family when this idiot is like all of us, like that's in the courtroom, and like Paw is coming out. Buster's like, I've never fucking heard him say that. Am I like, are they just kind of stone faced? Like, how are they reacting? Could you see them?
Buster was stone faced a lot. Like he didn't have a lot of emotion at all during the trial. I can't remember if Randy was there that day. Lynn was eating it up. Like, I've never, like, it was so bizarre to me how strongly she supported him.
What about
Randy? Never.
Go ahead.
Randy always. I don't think Randy wanted to be there at all when he was there. He wasn't there all the time, and he did not. When he was there, he was not happy about it. And John Marvin just sat there with a smile on his face.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
So weird.
What was the deal with that? This guy was the smilest guy ever. He was like the guy from 30 Rock. What's his name? That just smiles all the time. Like he was like Kenneth.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Like,
yes.
What was the deal?
And we've written like smack about that dude, and he is so nice in person. And I'm like, why are you being nice to us? Like.
And every time at the end they'd show, like at the end when they're just showing the gal, and he's just smiling ear to ear, just having a good old time.
And you'd see him outside the courthouse, and he would be like strutting around, smiling, like, "It's all good. I'm Rooster."
It's crazy.
We looking,
Lynn was the weirdest. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, and it was crazy.
It didn't. You could tell they were. I mean, you could tell they'd been sprayed, and you could tell they were dead. I mean, they might have still had a tiny bit of life, but they were dead. So we knew that. So we knew we had to replant the whole field. So that didn't take but a second. But after that, Paw. We just rode the property. We spent time together. We rode around and we spent time together on the property.
Did you go to the duck pond?
Oh yeah, we went to several food plots. We went to Single Oak Stand, we called it, which is across the road. I know we went to the Bridge Stand. We went to the duck pond where we stayed for a minute, and
did you?
I can remember the duck pond specifically because I had helped Paw plant the dove field and the corn in the dove field. So sunflower.
This is one of those things that he did the whole time where he just goes off on these tangents of shit that no one cares about to try to make it like a story is more believable because he tells these fucking stories.
Right. It's like give as many details as possible. He said dove field so many damn times. I was like, what is it with the goddamn dove field? Like, I know dove hunting is a big thing down there, but it was bizarre.
It's like he had to tell kind of some stories that were true, like just so he'd like have like he's trying to set it up. Like if I tell these stories that have some sort of truth to it, surely they're going to believe the other stories are complete bullshit.
And then we went to the duck pond, and we stayed there for a couple of minutes, and then we went to the stand, and then we went to the other stand. Like, and they were only driving around in that damn golf cart for what, like 30 minutes?
Right.
Like,
go this whole fucking story.
Sunflower corn, and I had helped him plant the corn in the duck field. Paw had planted the duck pond by himself, and he's making a really big deal to me about how much better the corn was doing in the duck pond than it was in the dove field. We stayed there for a little while. We were at the cabin for a little while. We rode around the cabin looking at it.
No, cabin is what?
That's it's just a little small. It's truly a cabin. It's a 4-room structure. It's got a little living area, a little kitchen, and it's got 2 little bedrooms and 1 little bathroom. And that's what you've heard talk about, where the kids stayed some summers. And
is that what the jury has seen? Some overhead pictures. It's right there on Moselle Road.
Yeah, it's right up on Moselle Road, and it's very close to the driveway that goes to the shop and the kennels.
Did you spend any time at the shop, you think?
Oh, yes. I mean, the shop was, that was sort of the hub.
All right. Tired of his bullshit.
like
believe
blah,
we went
blah.
to the restaurant in the hotel where we were staying.
So many just
I
fucking.
didn't
Then a
notice
wild
the
pig
fact
charged
that Grady
me.
had.
What?
And then a wild pig charged me. It was amazing.
On the top. But he probably did.
I want to get to our boy Craig.
Makes sense to me that
And
Oh, wipe the whole face.
I'm going to play the 911 tape, but I just want to ask you, and you've told law enforcement that's been played here in the court.
Did they check the Dovefields for guns?
It's a good question. I mean, I know they searched the property. It's huge, though. I mean, when you look at it from a map, it looks big, but when you're there in person, it's freaking enormous. There's no way they could have done a comprehensive search of that whole property. And it backs up to like a swamp and a river, and I mean, those guns could be anywhere.
What did you do when you went up?
13 minutes, 58.
Changing in? And
mother-in-law directly there was about
Right,
firm or some.
Just be all. I want to get some Creighton in here.
So when Creighton got all
It starts.
I just when he does that one thing. So you're telling me that like that was just the great when he just nailed him and like, there's no way. Let's see if we can get. Oh, this is. So any other insights to like this day, like in the court, that like stuff that like stuck out to you, like that was going on?
everybody was paying attention the entire time he was on the stand. I mean, it was like there was a lot of testimony where people kind of like, you could tell they were doodling or, it would get boring, but everybody was just like, it was just, they were shocked that it was happening and listening to every word they said that he said to see, because he's freaking lying the entire time.
Right. And what did you think about, did people realize like that Creighton's strategy at the time was to let him talk? Because I saw a lot of people like, oh, he's letting him, but like that was his whole strategy, was to kind of like, let it all out so we can call him out on it later. Like, did people realize that?
I think as it got going, they realized that the more time you give him to talk, the more it's like giving him a rope to hang himself.
Right.
I mean, I think it became really clear that was a strategy and that it was going to be effective.
I had one of the things I was working on that Monday was one of the biggest cases that I've ever been involved in.
Talking about the Dominion case, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And so, I think it was cyclical. I think it
Had a personal conversation with at some point during the course of your representation.
What do you think about the fact that they never? I think they used. Is her name Elizabeth, the other defense attorney? I forget her name, but she
Maggie Fox.
What is it?
Maggie Fox.
Oh, Maggie. I'm sorry. All right, they used her for one witness. I think one witness. I mean, what was the deal with that? I feel like, and when she did go on, she was awesome.
Yeah, she has been at every hearing that I've been to. She was there the entire trial, and those two buffoons only used her once. Whereas Savannah Gold, they would put her, and it was ridiculous. It was so misogynistic in my eyes.
Particularly when they had Dr. Reimer. Like, why have Harpootlian go up there and beat the shit out of her and just come off like a total asshole when you have her, when she could, I'm sure, do a better job than him in the first place? But he was such a dick to her, and it came off like he's just being this bully, beating. Like, I just didn't get that at all.
I think his goal was to fluster her, and it did work. I mean, to his credit, she did get flustered, but it was not a good look for him.
No.
Like, it was just the wrong witness to bully like that.
Well, even that day was when he just went off on everyone, where it's his theatrics, and like with Ronnie, he's like, you're mad at him. Like,
oh my God.
like, calm down. Like, I know that, like, it's his whole deal, and, like, I've heard that, like, he never really gets angry. Like, that's just his persona. But, like, clearly it didn't work. It wasn't work. I'm watching it, and I'm like, you're just being a dick. Like, I don't know.
It backfired on him totally. Like, I think maybe in another county it could have been more effective, but I don't think people appreciated him bullying people. And, like, it was like he was coming into their house and bullying. You know, Ronnie Crosby, regardless of what you think, he was likable on the stand.
I agree.
It bothered me
I
because
thought he totally was.
I mean, I think he's done some shady stuff, but I don't think it was a good look for the jury.
What about the moment when he asked Ronnie Crosby, do you think he did it? How was that in the courtroom?
Tense. I mean, it was that Ronnie Crosby on the stand was awkward and intense.
And the crazy thing is, he doesn't say when he asks him that. He isn't like, no way. He's like, you're looking at more evidence than I'm looking. Like you would think it would be an emphatic no, but it was clearly not even close to an emphatic. Like,
no. I think his buddies are just done covering his ass.
All of my clients.
Representation.
Absolutely. I had multiple conversations with all of my clients.
And these were people, every single one of them, real people that you looked in the eye and convinced them that everything was right.
Honor, 403, repetitive, cumulative. We spent 2 hours doing this yesterday.
I'm just trying to the simple questions that applies to everybody, and then I'm moving on.
Proceed.
I would have had conversations with all of my clients, and some of the conversations would have been on the telephone. I would have had conversations where I might not be looking them in the eye. I would have had plenty of conversations where I did look them in the eye.
All right. Every single one of them looked them in the eye at least once. Is that fair?
Sure.
Every single one of them, you looked them in the eye and developed their trust in you. Is that true?
Every client that I had, at some point, I looked them in the eye, and I believed that I had the trust of my clients. Whether that came from me looking them in the eye or not, I can't answer that, but I will agree with you that every single client, I looked them in the eye, and I believe that the people that I stole money from for all those years trusted me.
And I'm going to show you what's been previously admitted as States 329, I believe it is.
Calculating, okay, is this more important? You know, one of the self-justifications that
You also told them that you thought you heard a wildcat, but maybe it was a person or something like that as well?
No, that's not what I said.
What did you say then?
I said when I went outside.
What?
I forgot about the wildcat. Totally forgot about it.
Now, here's a question I have. Can you tell? It's clear Creighton wore him down. As you're in, like, can you see him just getting worn down as the day goes on?
I don't think he thought Creighton was going to keep him on the stand as long as he did. And I was there for every second of it. I was like, keep going, buddy. Like, just keep at him.
Well, that was the best line. I know you want to get done with this quicker, but I'm not going to. Like, that was the greatest line.
Yeah, like, sorry, dude.
You stole from all these fucking people, and you're going to tell everyone about it, or I'm going to tell you to tell everyone about it.
And that was part, like Shannon said, we're playing chess, not checkers. That's part of the long game. They're making the financial trials, they're going to go a lot easier because they had admissions from him in court under oath.
Right. How I don't even understand how he can how is there any defense when he did this? Like, that was the whole deal.
Right.
When
Creighton knew what he was doing. I mean, it was arduous, but it was good.
Yeah.
There's a house cat that's gone wild, and he hangs around. He goes from hanging around the shop, goes from hanging around the house. Different times you might, and there'll be times you don't see him. And he had been around the house, and when I went outside, I believe that cat was over there.
Okay. And you made a point of mentioning that to law enforcement.
I never thought it was a person.
All right. But you made a point of mentioning that to law enforcement, correct?
In the course of discussing it, I did tell them that. No, I definitely wasn't working very much. I think I was working a little bit, but no, not very much at all.
Did you go to Johnny Parker to borrow 200?
Sorry, I want to get to the point where it says.
No, sir. I know that Will Love and Paw had it right before turkey season, like Will Love testified to.
So it was around, actually.
It was around there at some point in time there, yes, sir.
So you're saying it got stolen a second time, or you just don't know?
No, I'm not.
The 12-year-old stole it a second time?
I never said a 12-year-old stole any gun, Mr.
Sorry, the
Waters.
5'2" people stole it a second time?
I love when they kept saying it.
I don't know that it was stolen. I just know that when we looked for it at Christmas time, we couldn't find it. And I know this. I know that I hadn't seen that gun in a long time. I've heard the testimony that people who were at my house using guns and hunting with us all the time, Rogan, Buster, they didn't, I can't remember about Buster, but there were several people who didn't even know that gun had been replaced. So that tells me that that gun did not stay where our regular guns were. And I know that I didn't see it there, and that tells me that they didn't see it there.
Of course you didn't see it there, because it's got to be missing, right, Mr. Murdaugh?
Ask that question
one more
again.
circumstance for your latest story to work is that it's got to be missing as well. It was when you told law enforcement it was missing at Christmas time. Now we've had testimony at this trial, and now you're still claiming that you never saw it. It must have been kept somewhere else. Where else would it have been kept?
It could have been kept anywhere, Mr. Waters, the way Paul did guns, the way guns were handled around there. I was terrible about that.
You're terrible about that.
I should have been stricter.
But you know that that third gun was fired right outside the gunroom door.
That's an interesting part where he says, I should have been stricter, because to me, that's maybe the one time that he says in this whole time that he has some sort of regret about, like, there's no regret when he's talking about right after it happened. No, like, I wish I would have just stayed a little bit longer. Because he's such a narcissist sociopath that he can't even think that that's an idea that someone who has normal feelings would think. Looking back at it, being like, I wish I just stayed there a little bit longer.
One of the sheriff's deputies, I was talking to him, and he said, I never have seen him get mad. Like, I've never seen him be like, I don't know who did this, go find them. Like, where is this case going? Like, it was never, he never was outraged. He was never worried about the investigation. It was, I mean, he said, I knew. Like, he's, like, even on the scene, he said, like, I've been to crime scenes where I've had to pull parents off of their dead children. And he's just walking around like nothing happened.
Right.
Just insane.
Just as weird. Are they dead? Did you check on them? Are you checking on them? Like, what do you mean?
Right. Are they really dead? Did I kill him good?
Like, Paul's, I mean, like, you know, Stupid's trying to make the point of his freaking head is missing. Did you check on him?
I have seen the crime scene photos, the sealed ones, and there is no question that Paul was dead. Like,
right.
There was no need to check them. He knew that.
Right. So ridiculous.
Or in turkey season of 2021, correct?
I know that now, based on what Will Lovin said.
And you know it was also fired across the street at y'all's shooting house around that same time, don't you?
No, sir, I don't know that, but I know that I would assume that it was fired.
Going to dispute that? Let's hear about that then. Tell me why you dispute.
I do dispute that I stole that money. That money.
All right. Well, I mean, you brought it up.
other
So
money.
any of the other money you dispute stealing?
No, sir, you brought it up.
I love when he's leaning on that podium. He's like, "Come on, buddy, keep feeding it to me. Just give it to me. I'm eating it up. Feed me these lies."
Right. Like, I didn't steal that money. The rest of it I did, though. It's
right.
fine. It's fine.
That money, not me.
Right. But not that specific money.
Just telling you that was the one I disputed.
Okay. All right. And you heard Ronnie Crosby and Mark Ball testify about
Now
that.
here
Correct?
is, did you guys notice in court at the time, watching it later, you can see like he starts like getting really pissed at Creighton, and like he was like staring at him and he starts like breathing deeply. Could you notice that like when you're in there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I heard Ronnie and Mark testify about what they thought about it. Yes, sir.
Look how mad he is right now. He's so mad.
You testified yesterday about the side of the road.
I mean, the people that were closest to me didn't believe that. You,
Wilson.
probably.
Did you lie to your other friend Barrett Bulware when you took his money?
No, sir.
No.
Not. I didn't lie like I told you. I didn't lie directly to him. I lied to him by omission, like we talked about. I mean, I didn't talk to him. I didn't see him at that time.
Did you lie to your law partners?
I did.
Did you lie to them about the kennels?
Some of them.
Did you lie to Mark Ball?
Yeah, based on what Mark said, I believe I did.
Did you lie to Ronnie Crosby?
According to what he said, I believe I did.
Did you lie to Johnny Parker?
I don't believe I ever discussed that with Johnny.
Did you lie to him about the finances when you borrowed that money in July of 2021?
I don't know if I lied to him about. I don't think Johnny asked me that.
All right. And then also you said that they started
general.
asking you about, in that first interview, about your relationship with Maggie and Paula. And that's one thing you mentioned as well, correct?
And that was certainly something that contributed to me having paranoid thinking.
It was earlier tonight. I don't know the exact time, but I left. I was probably gone an hour and a half from my mom's, and I saw them about 45 minutes before that.
That was Sergeant Green, correct?
Yeah, that was Sergeant Green.
And at that point in time, SLED was not there. No one had gotten GSR from you. Your law partners or Sheriff Hill were not there.
That's correct.
No one had asked you about your relationships. David Owen was not there.
That's correct.
But you still told the same lie. And all those reasons that you just gave this jury about the most important part of your testimony was a lie too. Isn't that true, Mr. Murdaugh?
I disagree with that.
Nothing further.
How was that moment
Ladies and
in court when he just basically just says, "You lied this whole time," and he just right there mic drop?
It was intense. Like it was. I mean, it was just perfection. And then he's just like, no further questions.
Right.
Like, just like, I've never seen such a strong ending to a cross-examination. He was just like, that's it. That's all I got. I mean, it was like you could almost hear the mic hitting the floor. It was like,
Right.
Boom.
And he beat him up that whole time, and he was just setting him up right towards the end. They're just setting him up with all the lies. It was just like,
Yeah, it was like
brilliant.
boom, 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 and I mean, I remember like I still get goosebumps watching it. It was
Look
crazy.
at his face. Look how mad he is right there. He's so mad.
His jaws clenched. You can see it, like that. He is evil.
Gentlemen, to take a break now. Please do not discuss the case.
So tell us about Judge Newman. I mean, is he just as amazing as he's just like the best.
He's never phased. You would see him walking to lunch, and he would have like deputies with him, and he would have his robe on the street in Walterboro, and he would just be it would look like he was floating. Like it was like an angel came down to earth and was walking to lunch. I was like, oh my God, there he is. And he never was phased. He was always prepared. Like he knew what was coming. It was like he knew what shenanigans Dick and Jim are going to pull. He already, like, his knowledge of the law was like nothing I've ever seen. Like how he applied it, how thoughtful he was about it. It was he is just if somebody says something bad about him, I'll fight him. I mean, I will.
Think we all. He's just like
he's just, and he was like the bomb threat. The bomb threat came in, and he was just like, "Well, folks, we're going to leave the courtroom," and like everybody's like flying out of the courthouse, and he just strolls out like nothing happened. Like, I'm going to get my sandwich.
What about the moment?
Like, okay, all right.
What about the moment when he brings up good old Jimmy's Twitter and that he's coming up on his Twitter account?
Oh God, Jimmy. Oh geez. I was like, Judge Newman's on Twitter. Why did I was like immediately I'm like, where is Judge Newman on Twitter? And it's a private account. You can't see it, but he's on there. He's watching. It's like eye in the sky. And when he handed down that sentence, like I mean, I cried, and I don't cry. I was just like, holy crap. Like his words were so heartfelt and profound, and he never missed a beat. It was just, and I was thinking, like, he knew this man. He knew the family. It was, when I heard that, I thought about listening, like him having to listen to this whole trial and how hard that must have been. But you never would have known it. And he lost his son right before the trial started. Like, we weren't even sure if the trial was going to start on time. And he was there every day. I mean, I only saw one day he was pissed. I can't remember why, but one day he was pissed. It was probably something Jim did. Jesus, like, he's such a buffoon. But yeah, I mean, he never, 6 weeks, he never missed a beat.
When he said, when he said that, your family has put people to death for far less than what you did, that really resonated with me. I'm like, wow. He, like you said, go ahead.
The Murdaugh in their history, the solicitors in their history of the death penalty is, it is something. Like, I mean, they have a lot of death penalty cases comparatively based on the rest of the state. So, I mean, it was, when he said it, I was like, boom.
It's crazy. Well, guys, it's 10:10. Jen, I can't thank you enough for coming on and being the special guest and giving us so much insight.
Anytime. This was fun.
This is awesome. So I hope you guys had a good time. I really appreciate everyone being here. I really appreciate Jen being here. And tomorrow we got, during the day, we got the trial. And then 7 o'clock, Dr. Kinsey, 7 p.m. Eastern, free for everyone. I'll send out the link. I already did. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And have a good night, everybody.
Bye.